Consumers, creators, entrepreneurs, pursuers, there's a war on our attention. And where attention goes, energy flows. We have to take back our time because it's messing with our mental health. There are statistics that show how screen time is affecting our brains, how short form content is affecting our brains. Scientists are predicting that there will be a huge increase in Alzheimer's and dementia around the years 2060 to 2100, which if you are a Gen Z, millennial, and the one before the most recent born people, there will be an increase in dementia because of the way that our brains are being played with. The term brain rot is so creative, and I love us, our generation, for creating that term because it's almost accurate. It's not completely accurate, but today I'm going to talk to you about how we can keep our brains healthy in this world. And it is that serious. The thing about addiction, which screen time is addicting, short form content is addicting. The thing about addiction is that you don't see how bad it is until you get out of it. If you are a crackhead, you're not going to really see the problem with you being a crackhead that much until you're not a crackhead anymore. And you can look back on your crackhead ways and be like, I was wilding. Now I'll give some crackheads credit who actually know that they're going crazy. And I think a lot of us are in that position of where the crack is the scrolling, the short form content, and we're all crackheads on some level. And we are all collectively sharing in this crackheadness. So it doesn't seem that bad. If you are doing bad things, but you're surrounded by people who are also doing the bad things, the bad thing will seem less bad. So I talked about how there will be suggested an increase in dementia and Alzheimer's. And it's because what happens is that our gray matter in our brains is affected by screen time. It alters our brains. I have some quotes from an article that I would love to read for y'all, just so you know I'm not making this up. And also, I can feel it. And I believe you can feel it too. There's a war on our minds, and we have to fight. Excessive screen time is known to alter gray matter and white volumes in the brain, increase the risk of mental disorders, and impair acquisition of memories and learning, which are known risk factors for dementia. Let's start with the first point that they mentioned here: increased risk of mental disorders. How many of us have dealt with anxiety? How many of us have dealt with depression, and just bipolar, all these different mental disorders, ADHD? The way that a lot of us have ADHD is crazy. And it could be related to our screen time. Also, the food that we eat. Y'all know I love talking about nutrition, but let's think about what we consume on here, scrolling as food for our minds, as nourishment for our brains. And I want to talk about Substack because I found Substack. One of my great friends put me on to Substack in a real way. I knew about Substack before because I was subscribed to someone's email list. And when they would create an article on Substack, I would get an email. So I just thought it was like an email app. But then one of my great friends, she started posting lovely articles about TV and film on Substack about cinema. Fun fact, I was a media journalism and film major in college, and I have a degree in that, concentration in TV and film. So I'm a TV and film fanatic. So when she started writing, I said, "Oh, I'm tuned in." And one of these times when I received an email that she posted, I decided to explore this world of Substack. I had no idea that there was a whole app to this. And when I got on and I started flipping my finger through, I found a social media platform that spoke to me, spoke to my desires, and the desires of those people who are truly creative, truly artistic, truly desiring something deeper from social media that we can't necessarily get from Instagram and TikTok. This led me to deactivate my Instagram and TikTok. We're going to get into why I think that a lot of us should take a hiatus from Instagram and TikTok, deactivate those things, and join Substack. If you are creative, if you are artistic, if you're a deep thinker, a lover of going deep on certain topics, of exploring the minds of others, you are going to love Substack. If you're someone who's a little bit more shallow, whose attention span is cooked, you are going to want to stay on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get out of that brain rot, get into some deeper thought, we're going to go into Substack. Okay, and I'll let you explore the app for yourself if you've never done it before. Now, Instagram and TikTok, they have their place. Short form content has its place. However, its place in my life has diminished greatly. It has diminished greatly. And I'm going to keep explaining why. Okay, so when it comes to short form content and brain rot, you are altering your brain. The reason why it's so scary is because you spend hours on your phone. So let's think about 2 hours a day, which lots of us have way more screen time than 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day, you're on your phone, scrolling, doing this and that. 2 hours a day per month, averaging 30 days. That's 60 hours a month. 60 hours a month spent doing time, spent spent spending your time doing something trivial that actually doesn't matter in your life. Period. You could go your whole life without needing the things that you did on your phone in those 2 hours. 60 hours a month, that's over 2 days. 2 whole days that you could be putting towards your goals, that you could be putting towards saving, towards learning, towards developing a skill. And when we think about later in life, because we might be young and turnt right now, but let's think about 30 years from now, how much time we would have lost scrolling short form content. The scary thing about it is, I think that before maybe the pandemic, short form content felt a little bit different. But after, it has been increasingly detrimental. With the rise of AI as well, you don't know if you're seeing a real person or not. It's that good these days. There are whole pages, health pages, with people speaking about health and healthy things, and they might create an AI figure who is this old, older, like Asian person who seems very wise, and they're telling you about health and wellness. That person is fake. It's also scary that the older people in our world, they might not know what AI is. I feel like as younger people, we can spot it, we can hear it. We know the AI music. We know when it's AI. It has a specific sound. We might for the most part we can spot AI people, but when I tell y'all I saw an AI video that I thought was real and I only knew it was fake because I looked in the comments. And it was of a famous person's likeness. And it didn't make sense for that famous person to be doing what they were doing in the video. And since they were a famous person that I wasn't too familiar with, but I knew that they were famous, I didn't know or not whether they would be doing something like that. But when I checked the comments, they were like, this is AI. Like, this person would not do this, blah, blah, blah. And the stuff that they were saying, I was like, wow, this really is AI. They just use this famous person's likeness, their voice, and it sounds, looks completely real. It's a whole nother level, whole nother level. And with that, short form content is changing. And there's this push for creators, entrepreneurs, and I feel you on this. You got to get to the bag, you got to make your money. But there's this push to stay relevant, to keep producing daily, post 3 times a day, 5 times a day, 10 times a day. And as a creator, that can take a toll on your mental health because it keeps you in the rat race that you're trying to get out of, right? I feel like a lot of us create content to get out of the rat race that we have learned about. And by rat race, I mean this system that keeps us running. You know how rats kind of run on this thing? And it's like you're never going to reach a destination. You can go as fast as you want, but you're still going to keep going around and around. You're never going to get to that peace that you're seeking. Being a creator of short form content can feel like that because you're creating to appease the short attention spans of people. When you're creating short form content, people don't want to see the deep stuff. They want to get that dopamine hit. Let's talk about some of the science behind why short form content can be a bit dangerous. The creators of these apps have built in a structure that specifically is targeting our dopamine. Dopamine is that feel good chemical in your brain. It's what makes you feel excited. It's that feeling that y you get before you open TikTok and you're just like setting up yourself to be entertained for however long you scroll. Maybe you didn't scroll all day and you finally get to go on your TikTok and you're like opening the app. That's dopamine right there, that feeling of excitement. And when you get that feeling of excitement, with short form content, it's rapidly changing your brain. It's giving you that excitement with every new video because the algorithms know what excites you. The algorithms know what is entertaining for you, what's going to make you laugh, what's going to make you cry, and they pull on your emotions. As humans, we are super emotional. And these apps target your emotions with the videos. So the reason why I also think that short form content is very dangerous is because they're playing with your emotions. And your emotions make you do things that you wouldn't do as your logical self. So logically, you might feel like I can control when I scroll. I can control my social media usage. However, when your emotions get involved, you start to do things that don't make sense. And combining that with the dopamine, the excitement that you get from scrolling, and how low effort it is to get that excitement, the combination is deadly because that's how you go on TikTok or Instagram and you look up, it was 9 o'clock, now it's 11. Where did the time go? In order to be a healthy consumer of short form content, you have to set timers for yourself. You have to curate a feed, excuse me, that is helping you learn, giving you new tips. And I just feel like that's way more work than we're actually willing to do. We're not really willing to scroll past the video or click not interested when it's something that it might interest us a little bit. It might interest us a little bit. Like if it pulls on your emotions, let's for example, let's think about a black person. I'm black, right? So let's say it's a win for a black person in a community. And this content that's not really going to support my life that much, but I'm like super excited for this person who had a win. So I'm like, let me engage with this content. It's not doing anything for me though. It's just taking away my time. Your time is valuable. Your time is everything. And it's hard to see that your time is so valuable when you're continually on the short form apps. Like you're probably, if you're in this position right now, which I was like 2 months ago, you're probably like, Kara, I get it. Like I already know short form is really like it's whatever. I'm only scrolling for 30 minutes. Like it's fine. 30 minutes of reading that book that you've been putting off will get you to finishing that book. You know what I'm saying? And then that book might have a piece of information that can change your life completely. And it's scary to think that the people who have these apps that are who've created these apps that are messing with our mental health, they might not even be engaging with them in the same way because they know how dangerous the apps are. Think about your future self at 50, 60, 70, who's having all these cognitive issues, who can't remember much, who only has the capacity for sitting down and being fed, something that really old people do, like 80s, 90s. Think about what if that happens to you in your 60s, 70s? That could possibly be where we're headed. It's just not good for our health. So let's read some more, okay? I want to tell you why short form videos are triggering your brain rot, why they're so addicting, okay? And we talked about this. So they're designed to be fast, entertaining, and easy to keep watching. That quick hit of entertainment gives your brain a small reward, which can make you want to watch more and more. Watching this type of content for extended periods of time can make tasks such as reading, working, or focusing harder or less interesting. If you cannot do tasks that require deep thought, if you cannot do tasks that require your attention span to be long, your life will be of a poor quality. And you might think, well, I go to work for all these hours a day and I'm doing these things. The things that you do at work are probably super easy. I know this because I've worked so many different types of jobs. And none of the jobs that I had challenged me to push my attention span for real. Some people do have those types of jobs where they might have to write a whole type of thing to put out, and that's good for your attention span. But that's still not feeding your creativity. And the scary part is that we can feel creative when we're watching short form content because we're watching other people feel creative and we're empathetic. We're human. Like we can take on feelings just from watching a piece of content. Think about watching a movie, how it can make you cry. We can take on feelings from content. Doesn't mean that those feelings are ours. Now, let's get into Substack. Why it's great for your mental health and for entrepreneurs and creatives. We talked about AI already. We can't really trust short form because of AI. Now, with Substack, a lot of articles and statuses, or however you want to say it, posts, people might use AI to write it. But I think the more that you read it, you'll be able to see because AI says the same things. If you see that long dash, probably AI. If you see something saying like, not only is this important for this, but it's also da da da. Like AI does that type of thing, and you can see. I can see when someone use AI to write, and I'm not clicking on that. However, I found on Substack that there's real people writing real things, creating real things, and there's this feeling of almost like a renaissance of fashion, of beauty, of culture, just analyzing these things from all different lenses on Substack. People take the time to write articles and come up with these ideas that can make you think again. You're not thinking when you're on these short form apps. And the reason why it's so good for our mental health is because it's lengthening our attention span again. When I'm sitting down and I might be scrolling, but what I'm scrolling through is an article that someone wrote or an essay, a thought piece that someone has taken several hours to write, and that's probably taking me 5 minutes to read. That's my scrolling. My thumb is just reading and reading and reading. I'm not scrolling, seeing different hits of different videos that are going to offer me excitement. It feels really good to slow down in that way. It feels really good to think again, to feel connection, to feel a sense of community. And that's why Substack is also great for entrepreneurs. Let's get into a stat about Substack for entrepreneurs, okay? So, the number of paying creators increased by 65% since 2023, supported by improved onboarding, marketing, and localized payment options. So, the thing with Substack, when you get enough subscribers, this is not what I'm on there for, by the way. But as an entrepreneur, I can't help but think about it, right? When you get a certain number, when you get subscribers, they can choose to pay for certain content. Kind of like with YouTube, if you have a membership, then you can post content that people pay for. Same thing with Substack. You can write things that people pay for or have your community pay for certain tiers. That's a place that is growing. I also heard Gary Vee talk about Substack recently and why it's he didn't mention much about why it's important, but the fact that Gary Vee is talking about it, he knows a lot about social media, how to grow online, how to be an entrepreneur. Um, he's really good at that. Like that's where his expertise is, and so I trust that to an extent. As an entrepreneur, Substack is a place, and as a creative, it's a place where you can create a genuine community because people are going there and subscribing and paying for your content because they want to see what you are writing. There's no, it's like they really get to choose you. It's not like Instagram where it's very easy to just follow someone and scroll past their content. And you watch them maybe for inspiration on Instagram, for motivation, for a quick piece of information and content. But on Substack, it's like if I'm subscribing to someone, I'm genuinely interested in the way that their mind works. As a creator, that's super important when it comes to community building. People are creating fantastic communities, and because of the energy difference in Substack versus platforms that are mainly short form like Instagram and TikTok, you can be more authentic on Substack. It's like a hidden oasis. You can be more authentic on Substack because you're not just trying to grab people's attention so that they can, I don't know, whatever you're grabbing people's attention for, so that you can get a sponsorship or something. You on Substack, you can say whatever you desire. I actually saw something on Substack that said that reels are polluting kind of the internet or something like that, just like throwing something in the water can pollute it. It's crazy because people post reels to stay relevant. This is literally me. Like, I would post reels to stay relevant, to try to get followers and try to go viral, even though I was also trying to convince myself that that's not what I was doing, that I had a bigger purpose than that. But this was the vehicle that I needed to use in order to get eyes on me. And I could feel this cognitive dissonance in my mind. I don't like these apps that much to be a creator of content and short form content on them. I've created and deleted and deactivated Instagram multiple times. I'm grateful and lucky to have not truly been on TikTok that much to have it be in my social media world. There was a point where I was on TikTok a little bit, but it didn't become my main social media app. I feel like for a lot of people, TikTok has become their main social media act. I'm just glad I didn't let it happen to me and I was more of an Instagram person, more of a YouTube. But TikTok is insane and it feels good because there's this essence on these apps of being cool, of being beautiful, of, like you want to be just perfect. We love to see that. It's satisfying to our flesh. It's satisfying to see a beautiful person do their skincare routine and their hair care routine, and we aspire to that. It's satisfying to see um, people living a life where they get to travel and they're showing the highlights and these beautiful places and friend groups doing friendships and doing funny things. Like, we love this, but at the same time, why aren't we creating this in our real lives? It's drawing from us the strength of how the strength of that desire in us is being drawn away from us because we're kind of receiving it from the short form content. When you step back from that and you actually get to sit in your life a little bit and you don't have these things that you are aspiring to, that you see people have, you get to work on getting those things. You're like, oh, okay, I need to get those things. I don't have that. And it's it sucks when you start to think about, oh, I'm watching people live the life that I desire. And I think on any level, it can be dangerous. There's billionaires out here who have so much money, but they have problems with scrolling. And it's because money, money can bring happiness. I definitely agree with that. But also, there's certain things that are missing from your life that money can't always bring, right? Like, money can't bring you friends. However, you can get social satisfaction from Instagram. It can feel like you're with people when you're scrolling on TikTok because you're seeing a bunch of people, you're hearing them talk, and our brains are registering that. It's impacting us. And then short form content is definitely related to how lonely we feel, and it's related to how much time we spend on our phones. Screen time in general is not bad, is not good. Screen time is what these studies are actually saying is bad. Scrolling affects our dopamine, right? But our brains can recover. But that screen time though, not good for us as humans. And the thing about short form content is that it definitely increases your screen time because you lose track of it. You lose track of your time when you're consuming short form content. And that's why I stepped away. I deactivated my TikTok, I deactivated my Instagram, and mainly the main social media app that I'm on is Substack and also YouTube, of course, because I'm posting on YouTube. I posted a video on focus. I will link that in the description. It's how to feed your focus muscle. It's going to help you focus again, sharpen your mind again, so that you can live a healthy lifestyle, so that you can feel content in life. I'm currently writing something that I will post on Substack once I'm done. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't, but my Substack is at Kira C.E. Brown. Just in case you wanted to follow me on there, I just be posting whatever. Okay. I post whatever on Substack because I just made the page. I feel like free on there. So, nourish your mind by letting go of those short form content. It took me a while to even start saying this because I didn't want to feel like a hypocrite being on short form content, knowing how bad it is for me, and telling you that you shouldn't be doing short form, or you shouldn't be consuming short form content because it's bad for you, but I'm doing it. Now that I'm mainly off of short form content, I feel good about it. I desire to stay off of the short form content for the foreseeable future. That it feels almost impossible, which is a shame. But I think that it is possible. You can create a life where you don't have to have short form content. You can still have an Instagram where you post on it, maybe like some pictures or whatever. But this short form content is almost like a plague. The reels are like a plague. We have so much life to live. The life is not in the short form. And if you are a creator, long form content is how you're going to really build community. At least a community that truly trusts you. I think as creators, when we're creating short form content, we can create a community. It's just going to be a different vibe. This feels personal. I'm talking to you for a very long time. Feel free to talk back. At any point, feel free to pause, chime in, say what you got to say, then comment it so I can actually see and hear what you're saying. But this is real. Substack is realer. It feels realer, and if you're a person who desires that real, true feeling connection, then YouTube, Substack is where it's at. I love TikTok and Instagram because they're so entertaining, they're so fun to be on, but so is life. And when it starts taking away from life, you gotta take some power back, okay? Another great thing about Substack, and I think this is my last point, is that it's super easy to curate your feed and your algorithm. If I have a feed, like I'm looking on my Substack and I'm seeing things that I don't necessarily want to see, and I scroll past it or I click the X button, the algorithm on Substack changes so fast. It changes so fast. It goes into your interests. And there's some really cool people on there. There's magazines on there. There's designers and architects. And if you're a business type of person, there's business people on there who are speaking from their genuine experience. It's hard to speak from your genuine experience and really be truly authentic in short form content because you know you got to get people's attention. What I love about Substack, and when I see someone who's just completely unapologetically saying whatever they want and they have a large community, that's inspiring for me because it's proof that authenticity will bring community. Authenticity will actually bring the right people to you. And when I was on and posting on these short form platforms, posting this content, I'm trying to keep it like a minute or less. When I would get people who commented or who let me who felt like they were in my community, it didn't feel like they completely knew who I was. It felt like they knew piece of who I was. But I feel like in a space where I can just let my thoughts go, you're able to kind of take a peek inside my mind. If you like that, subscribe. If you don't like that, subscribe because you probably will eventually. You will. Nourish your mind with Substack. Deactivate your TikTok and Instagram for a month. Just give yourself that space for a month. See what happens in your life. Take back your life. Be authentic. Be creative. Nourish your mind and stay golden.